Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
A wrong action attributable to bad judgment or ignorance or inattention. I could understand his English in spite of his grammatical faults. An imperfection in an object or machine. The quality of being inadequate or falling short of perfection. He knew his own faults much better than she did. Geology. A crack in the Earth's crust resulting from the displacement of one side with respect to the other. They built it right over a geological fault. Put or pin the blame on. Electronics. Equipment failure attributable to some defect in a circuit, loose connection or insulation failure or short circuit, etc. It took much longer to find the fault than to fix it. Responsibility for a bad situation or event. It was John's fault. Sports. A serve that is illegal, e.g., that lands outside the prescribed area. He served too many double faults. A misconception resulting from incorrect information. A wrong action attributable to bad judgment or ignorance or inattention. She was quick to point out my errors. Baseball. A failure of a defensive player to make an out when normal play would have sufficed. Inadvertent incorrectness. Part of a statement that is not correct. The book was full of errors. Departure from what is ethically acceptable. Computer science. The occurrence of an incorrect result produced by a computer. A wrong action attributable to bad judgment or ignorance or inattention. He made a bad mistake. Identify incorrectly. Don't mistake her for her twin sister. An understanding of something that is not correct. He wasn't going to admit his mistake. Part of a statement that is not correct. To make a mistake or be incorrect. Desert. A cause, a country or an army, often in order to join the opposing cause, country, or army. A mark or flaw that spoils the appearance of something, especially on a person's body. An imperfection in an object or machine. If there are any defects, you should send it back to the manufacturer. A failing or deficiency. That interpretation is an unfortunate defect of our lack of information. An imperfection in a bodily system. Visual defects. An imperfection in an object or machine. A flaw caused the crystal to shatter. Add a flaw or blemish to, make imperfect or defective. An imperfection in a plan or theory or legal document that causes it to fail or that reduces its effectiveness. Defect or weakness in a person's character. He had his flaws, but he was great nonetheless. The quality of being inadequate or falling short of perfection. They discussed the merits and demerits of her novel. A mark against a person for misconduct or failure, usually given in school or armed forces. 10 demerits and he loses his privileges. Tennis. A score consisting of winning a game when your opponent was serving. He was up 2 breaks in the second set. Breaking of hard tissue such as bone. The break seems to have been caused by a fall. Enter someone's virtual or real property in an unauthorized manner, usually with the intent to steal or commit a violent act. Be released or become known, of news. Fail to agree with, be in violation of, as of rules or patterns. An act of delaying or interrupting the continuity. It was presented without commercial breaks. Lessen in force or effect. Break a fall. An escape from jail. The breakout was carefully planned. Interrupt a continued activity. Force out or release suddenly and often violently something pent up. Break into tears. Any frame in which a bowler fails to make a strike or spare. The break in the 8th frame cost him the match. Go to pieces. Ruin completely. Act in disregard of laws, rules, contracts, or promises. Break a law. Become fractured. Break or crack on the surface only. Do a break dance. Kids were break dancing at the street corner. Prevent completion. Break off the negotiations. Become separated into pieces or fragments. Make known to the public information that was previously known only to a few people or that was meant to be kept a secret. Terminate. Break a lucky streak. Surpass in excellence. Break a record. Discontinue an association or relation. Go different ways. The act of breaking something. The breakage was unavoidable. Happen. Break down, literally or metaphorically. A pause from doing something, as work. We took a 10-minute break. Stop operating or functioning. Fracture a bone of. Reduce to bankruptcy. My daughter's fancy wedding is going to break me. Assign to a lower position. Reduce in rank. Geology. A crack in the Earth's crust resulting from the displacement of one side with respect to the other. Break a piece from a hole. Break a branch from a tree. Make submissive, obedient, or useful. The horse was tough to break. A time interval during which there is a temporary cessation of something. Move away or escape suddenly. Nobody can break out. This prison is high security. A personal or social separation, as between opposing factions. They hoped to avoid a break in relations. Some abrupt occurrence that interrupts an ongoing activity. There was a break in the action when a player was hurt. Destroy the completeness of a set of related items. The book dealer would not break the set. Cease an action temporarily. Let's break for lunch. An unexpected piece of good luck. He finally got his big break. An abrupt change in the tone or register of the voice, as at puberty or due to emotion. Then there was a break in her voice. A sudden dash. He made a break for the open door. Be broken in. If the new teacher won't break, we'll add some stress. Become punctured or penetrated. Cause the failure or ruin of. This play will either make or break the playwright. Cause to give up a habit. Change directions suddenly. Change suddenly from one tone quality or register to another. Come forth or begin from a state of latency. Come into being. Come to an end. crack of the male voice in puberty. His voice is breaking, he should no longer sing in the choir. Curl over and fall apart in surf or foam of waves. Destroy the integrity of, usually by force, cause to separate into pieces or fragments. Diminish or discontinue abruptly. Emerge from the surface of a body of water. Exchange for smaller units of money. I had to break a $100 bill just to buy the candy. Fall sharply. Find a flaw in. Break an alibi. Find the solution or key to. Break the code. Give up. Break cigarette smoking. Happen or take place. Things have been breaking pretty well for us in the past few months. Interrupt the flow of current in. Break a circuit. Invalidate by judicial action. Make a rupture in the ranks of the enemy or one's own by quitting or fleeing. Make the opening shot that scatters the balls. Pierce or penetrate. Render inoperable or ineffective. Scatter or part. Separate from a clinch, in boxing. The occurrence of breaking. The break in the dam threatened the valley. The opening shot that scatters the balls in billiards or pool. Undergo breaking. Vary or interrupt a uniformity or continuity. Weaken or destroy in spirit or body. Geology. A crack in the Earth's crust resulting from the displacement of one side with respect to the other. He studied the faulting of the Earth's crust. Breaking of hard tissue such as bone. It was a nasty fracture. Fracture a bone of. Geology. A crack in the Earth's crust resulting from the displacement of one side with respect to the other. The act of cracking something. Become fractured. The tibia fractured from the blow of the iron pipe. Break, a bone. Break into pieces. The pothole fractured a bolt on the axle. Interrupt, break, or destroy. Fracture the balance of power. Violate or abuse. This writer really fractures the language. Geology. A crack in the Earth's crust resulting from the displacement of one side with respect to the other. They built it right over a geological fault. Lay aside, abandon, or leave for another. The act of changing one thing or position for another. Move sideways or in an unsteady way. Move around. Change place or direction. The time period during which you were at work. Geology. A crack in the Earth's crust resulting from the displacement of one side with respect to the other. Make a shift in or exchange of. Move abruptly. A loose-fitting dress hanging straight from the shoulders without a waist. An event in which something is displaced without rotation. The key on the typewriter keyboard that shifts from lowercase letters to uppercase letters. The act of moving from one place to another. His constant shifting disrupted the class. A qualitative change. Move very slightly. He shifted in his seat. A woman's sleeveless undergarment. A crew of workers who work for a specific period of time. Change gears. You have to shift when you go down a steep hill. Change in quality. His tone shifted. Change phonetically as part of a systematic historical change. Grimm showed how the consonants shifted. Move in exchange for another. Shift the date for our class reunion. Move from one setting or context to another. Shift the emphasis. Use a shift key on a keyboard. She could not shift, so all her letters are written in lowercase. An accusation that you are responsible for some lapse or misdeed. The police laid the blame on the driver. Harass with constant criticism. A reproach for some lapse or misdeed. He took the blame for it. Put or pin the blame on. Attribute responsibility to. We blamed the accident on her. Expletives used informally as intensifiers. It's a blamed shame. An act that does not achieve its intended goal. An act that does not achieve its intended goal. The state or an instance of being imperfect. The state or an instance of being imperfect. French couturier, born in England, regarded as the founder of Parisian haute couture, noted for introducing the bustle, 1825 to 1895. Often used ironically, worthy of being treated in a particular way. An idea worth considering. An indefinite quantity of something having a specified value. $10 worth of gasoline. Having a specified value. Not worth his salt. The quality that renders something desirable or valuable or useful. A purified and potent form of cocaine that is smoked rather than snorted, highly addictive. A long narrow opening. A usually brief attempt. He took a crack at it. A narrow opening. He opened the window a crack. Become fractured. Break or crack on the surface only. The glass cracked when it was heated. Suffer a nervous breakdown. A chance to do something. Break suddenly and abruptly, as under tension. Witty remark. Pass through, a barrier. Registrations cracked through the 30,000 mark in the county. Make a sharp sound. Of the highest quality. A crack shot. A long narrow depression in a surface. A sudden sharp noise. The crack of a whip. The act of cracking something. A blemish resulting from a break without complete separation of the parts. There was a crack in the mirror. Break into simpler molecules by means of heat. The petroleum cracked. Break partially but keep its integrity. The glass cracked. Cause to become cracked. Heat and light cracked the back of the leather chair. Gain unauthorized access computers with malicious intentions. She cracked my password. Hit forcefully. Deal a hard blow, making a cracking noise. The teacher cracked him across the face with a ruler. Make a very sharp explosive sound. His gun cracked. Reduce petroleum to a simpler compound by cracking. Tell spontaneously. Crack a joke. A long narrow opening. A long narrow depression in a surface. A long narrow opening. A long narrow depression in a surface. Anatomy. A long narrow slit or groove that divides an organ into lobes. Break into fissures or fine cracks. Having one or more indentations reaching nearly to the midrib. A long narrow opening. A split or indentation in something, as the palate or chin. Split or divided. He had a cleft chin and strong jaw. A long narrow opening. Criminal law. A pleading describing some wrong or offense. He was arrested on a charge of larceny. Move quickly and violently. A quantity of explosive to be set off at one time. This cartridge has a powder charge of 50 grains. The quantity of unbalanced electricity in a body, either positive or negative, and construed as an excess or deficiency of electrons. The battery needed a fresh charge. Cause to be agitated, excited, or roused. The speaker charged up the crowd with his inflammatory remarks. Psychoanalysis. The libidinal energy invested in some idea or person or object. Freud thought of cathexis as a psychic analog of an electrical charge. Demand payment. Will I get charged for this service? Direct into a position for use. He charged his weapon at me. Blame for, make a claim of wrongdoing or misbehavior against. He charged the director with indifference. Request for payment of a debt. They submitted their charges at the end of each month. Cause to be admitted. Of persons to an institution. File a formal charge against. The suspect was charged with murdering his wife. To make a rush at or sudden attack upon, as in battle. Give over to another for care or safekeeping. Provide, a device, with something necessary. Attention and management implying responsibility for safety. A special assignment that is given to a person or group. His charge was deliver a message. Heraldry consisting of a design or image depicted on a shield. A formal statement of a command or injunction to do something. The judge's charge to the jury. Attribute responsibility to. The tragedy was charged to her inexperience. An assertion that someone is guilty of a fault or offense. The newspaper published charges that Jones was guilty of drunken driving. The swift release of a store of effective force. Impose a task upon, assign a responsibility to. He charged her with cleaning up all the files over the weekend. Assign a duty, responsibility or obligation to. She was charged with supervising the creation of a concordance. An impetuous rush toward someone or something. The wrestler's charge carried him past his adversary. A person committed to your care. The teacher led her charges across the street. Cause formation of a net electrical charge in or on. Charge a conductor. Energize a battery by passing a current through it in the direction opposite to discharge. I need to charge my car battery. Enter a certain amount as a charge. He charged me $15. Fill or load to capacity. Charge the wagon with hay. Financial liabilities, such as a tax. The charges against the estate. Instruct a jury about the law, its application, and the weighing of evidence. Instruct or command with authority. The teacher charged the children to memorize the poem. Lie down on command, of hunting dogs. Make an accusatory claim. The defense attorney charged that the jurors were biased. Pay with a credit card. Pay with plastic money. Postpone payment by recording a purchase as a debt. Will you pay cash or charge the purchase? Place a heraldic bearing on. Charge all weapons, shields, and banners. Saturate. The room was charged with tension and anxiety. Set or ask for a certain price. How much do you charge for lunch? The price charged for some article or service. The admission charge. Blame for, make a claim of wrongdoing or misbehavior against. Bring an accusation against, level a charge against. The neighbors accused the man of spousal abuse. A cessation of normal operation. The act of disrupting an established order so it fails to continue. His warning came after the breakdown of talks in London. A cessation of normal operation. There was a power breakdown. An analysis into mutually exclusive categories. Biology, the process of decay caused by bacterial or fungal action. A mental or physical breakdown. A form of trustworthiness, the trait of being answerable to someone for something or being responsible for one's conduct. He holds a position of great responsibility. The social force that binds you to the courses of action demanded by that force. Every right implies a responsibility. Every opportunity, an obligation. Every possession, a duty. The proper sphere or extent of your activities. A form of trustworthiness, the trait of being answerable to someone for something or being responsible for one's conduct. Mate with. Be used by, as of a utility. A means of serving. Tableware consisting of a complete set of articles, silver or dishware, for use at table. Sports. A stroke that puts the ball in play. The act of delivering a writ or summons upon someone. He accepted service of the subpoena. Periodic maintenance on a car or machine. The act of public worship following prescribed rules. The Sunday service. The act of mating by male animals. A force that is a branch of the armed forces. Canadian writer, born in England, who wrote about life in the Yukon Territory, 1874 to 1958. A company or agency that performs a public service, subject to government regulation. An act of help or assistance. He did them a service. Employment in or work for another. He retired after 30 years of service. Law. The acts performed by an English feudal tenant for the benefit of his lord which formed the consideration for the property granted to him. Make fit for use. Service my truck. The performance of duties by a waiter or servant. That restaurant has excellent service. Work done by one person or group that benefits another. Budget separately for goods and services. Mate with. Male animals serve the females for breeding purposes. Be used by, as of a utility. The sewage plant served the neighboring communities. Be sufficient. Be adequate, either in quality or quantity. Nothing else will serve. Work for or be a servant to. May I serve you? Serve a purpose, role, or function. The tree stump serves as a table. Sports. A stroke that puts the ball in play. His powerful serves won the game. Deliver a warrant or summons to someone. Help to some food. Help with food or drink. I served him 3 times, and after that he helped himself. Promote, benefit, or be useful or beneficial to. Art serves commerce. Spend time in prison or in a labor camp. Provide, usually but not necessarily food. We serve meals for the homeless. Contribute or conduce to. The scandal served to increase his popularity. Devote, part of one's life or efforts to, as of countries, institutions, or ideas. She served the art of music. Do duty or hold offices, serve in a specific function. He served as head of the department for 3 years. Do military service. She served in Vietnam. Put the ball into play. It was Agassi's turn to serve. An embarrassing mistake.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.